Welcome everybody to our BNI Talks webinar. My name is Steve Januzzo, your host, and today I've got Sean Lacagnina, and he is going to talk about mindset and attitude and how it affects everything that you do. And this is something that I think is really important to us because we talk about one of our BNI core values is positive attitude. And certainly we've seen that happen in BNI chapters, but I think mindset and attitude is such an important thing as you approach your business or as you approach your relationships that I think this is going to be something that's really going to hit home for a lot of us. So, Sean, why don't you take over and get us started?
Thank you, sir. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, BNI, for showing up and being involved. Steve and I were talking before we went live here, how this is one of those opportunities that BNI offers, and it's a labor of love for Steve that few, even though we've got, 400, 500 people that signed up for this, few really even know about. So spread the word. This is something where you can grow, not just professionally, but personally. He does it as a labor of love. It's a fantastic opportunity. It's a Friday. What more do you want? So Steve, thank you for the opportunity to be a part of it. My goal today is to talk about mindset and attitude. And obviously in the next 30 to 40 minutes that we have to share together, we can't cover everything. But my goal is really to get you to change your mindset and to think differently about the topic itself. And at the end, I am going to challenge you to do some things over the next 10 days that might really make a difference, not just in your life, but in those that you come in contact with. So hang in there till the end with me, and I'd love to hear the feedback. To start us off, I want you to know that this topic isn't new. This isn't the topic of the day. It's not a new trend. It's not something that Steve and I got together and just thought up, hey, let's talk about mindset and attitude. It's the oldest book that I own is a picture of it there. It comes from 1912, written by Mr. Knox. And I want to start by just reading you some things. The very first paragraph in the very first chapter of this book, written back over 200 years ago, here's what he had to say. This is the way he started the work of his life. What is the greatest cause of inefficiency in America? It is the lack of a definite purpose. Experts declare that only 10% of the people in this country have an ultimate aim, a genuine motive for living. This is the greatest tragedy in American life. The man who has no object is going nowhere. He's just drifting, and consequently, he never arrives. So again, it starts in your mind. He says that a man with a mission pays no attention to obstacles, except to use them as stepping stones to help him reach his goal, which is always in sight. That's going to be a very key concept that we are going to talk about. Now, this one's a bonus. You're not going to have to pay extra for this one, but he does point out back over 200 years ago that you cannot have an empty mind, and you cannot think of two things in a concentrated attention at the same time. So if you're a fan of multitasking, you can't do it. That's a whole nother subject, but I just thought it was interesting that all the way back over 200 years ago, they thought the same thing. And then he says that every idea which enters the mind immediately tends to express itself in action. That's really a key concept that we're going to focus on. What your mindset is, what your attitude is, immediately starts to work in you as an action. The man with a definite purpose has a conquering spirit. He can see the end from the beginning because he has it pictured in his imagination. What is your vision? What is it that you want to accomplish? What's important to you? The greatest piece of machinery ever constructed is not the adding machine, the typewriter, or the telephone. Today, he might say the internet, the laptop, or your smartphone, but the one within the human head. What's between our ears and what we fill that with has a greater impact on your success in life than anything else that you're going to do. That's the topic that we're going to talk about. But who am I? Well, I'm a father of three beautiful young ladies. They're the joy of my life. I've been married to my wife for over 30 years. Yes, we have a dog who's sitting here next to me that's part of the family as well. But I'm the founder of Anchor Point Business Development. And I chose to work with growth-minded leaders to help them move their vision into a reality. And I chose small business because I'm a product of small business. I've either owned, worked for, or in a small business over the past 40 years. And I strongly believe that if I can help mold and change and grow a small business and that community, it will affect the community in which it thrives in. See, I believe that small businesses, more than anything else, really do have an impact in our communities. And if we can change that leadership, it will have a trickle down effect to the employees. It'll have a trickle down effect to their vendors, to their clients, to their family members and their neighbors. And it really can change a community. Small businesses are that important. Even in the communities where a big business might run the town, there's a ton of small businesses supporting it and making that happen. So that's where I come from. So let's go back again to see that this isn't a new thing. If you're not familiar with Andrew Carnegie, I'd strongly recommend you learn about him. He lived in the late 1800s, early 1900s. He sold Carnegie Steel. He was a steel guy. He sold Carnegie Steel to J.P. Morgan in 1901 for $408 million. Now, to put that in perspective, by today's standards, his wealth was somewhere around $309 billion. Okay, so even before Jeff Bezos, even before Elon Musk, we had a guy that was knocking it out of the park. And he met a young man by the name of Napoleon Hill. You may have heard of him back in the early 1900s. And he immediately admired Napoleon Hill's drive and his talent. And they started having this conversation around what makes people successful. Andrew Carnegie was fascinated with that subject. In fact, their conversations became a book called Think and Grow Rich. Probably heard of it. It's one of the most successful books in business, published back in 1937. But he was consumed with this idea of what makes success. Now, after Andrew Carnegie passed away, he left most of his wealth to set up foundations and establishments. He's one of these guys that wanted to die broke. His foundation still exists, and they did a study, I don't know, it was a couple decades ago now, but they looked at what makes people successful. So I want to ask you, as you think of people, as you consider people that you consider to be successful, and it doesn't have to be Walt Disney or Michael Jordan or even Elon Musk. It could be someone that you know, someone you work for, someone you work with. What kind of images come to mind when you start thinking about success? And what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop sharing here. I'm going to change cameras for a real quick moment here. And I'm going to capture these ideas. Steve's going to assist me with this. Let me change my camera. And then let me drop out the backdrop. So what are the attributes, if you would put in the chat there, what are the attributes when you think of someone that is successful? What comes to mind?
Looks like it says go-to attitude, dedicated, define. Oh boy, it's going fast.
Relentless.
Let me back up a little bit. Let's see, vision, disciplined, perseverance, positive, purpose, the ability to positively impact the lives of others. It's a long one. Getting up every day, passion, relentlessness, looking successful, always smiling, team, driven, let's see, listening, confidence, honesty.
Okay, we filled up our page. Let's stop there for the interest of
All
time.
right.
We could go on.
We could.
So when
That's
you
a lot more.
think of these things, yeah, I mean, and that's great. And I love thank you for interacting with me, guys. So what happened was the Carnegie Foundation went out and they started talking to people about what is success. What does it look like? And in particular, they wanted to know what makes some people more successful than others. And they came up with this concept, and you may be familiar with it. It's called the Carnegie Triangle. And basically what they did after their study of talking to thousands of people and hundreds of companies, they boiled it down to three attributes that really made a difference. Any guesses to what those three attributes might be? I'll start you off with the first one.
Aaron says mindset.
Close.
We have an attitude.
Attitude was definitely one of them.
We have a know, like, and trust, and a vision person.
So I've got knowledge, attitude, and there's a third one.
Action, persistence,
Action,
skills.
skills. There we go. Skills
There
is
you
it.
go. Trisha gets it.
So Trisha nailed it. Thank you, Trisha, for your help there. So we've got skills, attitude, and knowledge. And of those three, what would you guess when we just look at skills alone? What percentage would you say, knowing that all three add up to 100, what percentage would you say skills play? You got a 10.
Numbers of 10, not that much.
Not that much.
5, 20,
25.
25. Scott says
What about
skills.
what about knowledge? Another 10.
Knowledge. Lots of 5s and 10s.
5, a 30, another 10, a 20. And then what about attitude? What percent would you give to attitude now? Oh, I got an 80 in there. Wow, 80 on knowledge. What about attitude?
100.
90, 50, 75, 30, 45. So we're getting the concept here. So here's what they actually found. It will not surprise some of you based on the numbers you're throwing out there. When they took a look at skills and knowledge, it averaged about 15% of what makes people successful. Attitude was 85% of the equation.
Wow.
85% of the equation was attitude. So when you look at that and you start thinking about your life and what you're trying to do, whoops. How can you integrate that into what you're trying to do? 85% of what we do is attitude. Our attitude easily comes out of our mindset. So we have to have a mindset first, and from that, our attitude will appear. So let me share my screen again. Isn't it amazing just the skills we've learned on how to work Zoom?
Absolutely.
Who would have thought in 3 years ago that this would be happening?
Yeah.
So I want to give you some things. Again, this isn't a new concept, right? Attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. That's Winston Churchill. The ones that are crazy enough to change the world are the ones that do. Steve Jobs, might have heard of him. People who are unable to motivate themselves must be content with mediocrity, no matter how impressive their other talents. Now, that's our friend Andrew. But again, I told you he had a lot of thoughts on success and proven that he knew what he was talking about. Happiness depends more on the inward disposition of the mind than the outward circumstances. Ben Franklin. So he wasn't living. He didn't believe that his circumstances were creating himself. He thought it was something inside of him. Always bear in mind that your own resolution to succeed is more important than any other. Abraham Lincoln. And finally, champions are not made in the gyms. Champions are made from something they have deep inside of them, a desire, a dream, a vision from the GOAT himself, Muhammad Ali. So you can see there's a big trend and a big thought about this concept of mindset, even a long time ago. So I want to do something now and kind of frame and start to change your mindset. It comes out of the book, The Oz Principle. And what they discovered is that some people look at life as challenges. Other people look at lives as problems. And between those two, there's this thin red line that separates them. And I point to the thin red line, and that will make sense in just a moment. But if you think about someone that's depressed, down, not having a great day, they probably resemble something like this. They're looking down, they're kind of hunched over. They kind of have that Eeyore personality from Winnie the Pooh. They're looking down. They kind of have the bends. So we took that and created to think about, they're blaming. It's not their fault that they are where they are. They've got a lot of excuses, right? It's, again, someone else. They're pointing the finger somewhere else. They're negative. You know, we can't do those types of things. That's not the way we do things here. The economy's not going to get any better. Oh, woes is me. They're in denial. It's not their fault. There's nothing they can do about it. It's nothing they did to put themselves in this situation. And they come to life with a scarcity mentality. And what I mean by that is, and this really comes out of a lot of work that even Stephen Covey explored, for me to win, you have to lose. And the reason you have what you have is because you took it from me. There's not enough to go around. It's definitely not the BNI mentality of givers gain, right? In fact, it's the complete opposite of that. But above the line, we got our hero there, and he's got the hero pose, right? He's ready to star in the next Marvel movie. And in fact, we're going to put a big red V on his chest for victory. And this person, he or she, is looking forward. They're looking up. They've got a vision, and they've got something that they really do want to prove. They're positive. They're proactive. They take responsibility for their circumstances and where they are. They take ownership. Again, much like we looked at with Benjamin Franklin, it's coming from within them. They're going to be proactive in what they do. They definitely have a vision for where they want to go. And they're in search of excellence, and they accept nothing else from themselves and from those that they interact with. Now, when we're below,
I was going to say, education coordinators out there, I think you've got an education moment happening right on this one slide.
There you go, right? And so again, they live below the line with this win-lose mentality. For you to win, I have to lose, and vice versa. It's a very negative place to be. They have a lot of discussions and emotions. In fact, today we call that drama. So when you think about the drama queens in your life, they're probably living in this situation that we're talking about below the line. But above the line, we're really focused on solutions. We realize there's challenges. We realize there's obstacles, but we also realize that we're in control and we can figure out a solution to this problem. Below the line, they become a magnet. They become a failure magnet. These are the people that are going to show up at your desk in the morning, or they're going to call you on the phone and they just want to vent or tell you the drama of the day. Misery loves company. Don't be allowed to have yourself pulled below the line. Now, I will tell you, the reason I said this is a thin red line, to say that we live above or below 100% of the time just isn't accurate, right? I like to think of myself as above the line and a positive person. But there are times where we slide below the line, right? We'll get together in a group and we'll vent, even in my peers that know all about this and teach it. We'll slide below the line. But here's the difference. When I'm amongst those types of people and we start sliding below the line and we stay there for too long, someone inevitably will say, all right, guys, let's get above the line. And that mindset is changed in a minute. That's the difference. And then we start focusing on, okay, we've discussed the problems. We've discussed the obstacles. What are the solutions that we can use moving forward? That's that thin line. So I'm imploring you to stay above the line. Yes, we can drop down. Yes, it happens. We'd love to ideally stay 100% above and have that mindset of positivity to where we see it, we own it, we solve it, we do it. But oftentimes you look at people that are below the line, it's easy to get pulled down, right? They want to wait and see. There's confusion. They want you to tell them what to do. You'll hear things like, it's not my job. That's a huge one. They'll ignore and deny things. They'll finger point, and they're always trying to cover their rear end. They're covering their tail. So when you see these kind of things happen, think the other way. See it, own it, solve it, do it, pull yourself above the line, and in doing so, pull them up. It'll be amazing to see what happens in that kind of atmosphere. So there really are no failures. There are experiences, there are discoveries, and there are lessons learned. It could be an expensive lesson learned, but if you learn from it, it's really not a failure. We all have problems. We all have disappointments. We all have frustrations. Everyone that you come in contact with, especially today, is dealing with something that you know nothing about. That I can promise you. And regardless of how close you are to them, I promise you they're dealing with something you know nothing about. And it's how we deal with those setbacks. It's how we deal with those challenges that shape our lives more than anything else. It's the mindset on how we face what we have to face day to day. Remember, we just looked at a study that told us 85% of what we're going to do to be successful comes out of our attitude. And our attitude comes out of our mindset. So it really, I would implore you to think about that. The only way to really change your life or your circumstances is to make a real decision about what you want to happen. Make it specific, make it measurable, make it attainable, make it relatable, and make it time bound. And that probably sounds really familiar to a lot of you, but it's so, so important. The reality is that whatever you focus on, you move towards. Whatever you focus on, you move towards. And that's in all aspects. I had the privilege of driving a NASCAR race car around Texas Motor Speedway at about 160 miles an hour. It was a thrill. I'm a race fan, and it was a thrill. But as I pulled out of the pits, and there were other cars on the track at the time, as I pulled out of the pits, the very brave instructor who was sitting to my right, who had no steering wheel and no brake, I call him brave. Others may say insane. The last thing he said to me as I pulled out onto that track was, Sean, focus on where you want the car to go, not the wall. Where you focus, your energy will follow and flow. It's true on the racetrack. It's true in your life. It's the same idea as the Japanese word kaizen, right? It's change for the better. It's continuous improvement. Consistent steps applied in the right direction with your focus on the goal will get you there. And it doesn't matter the size of the steps. It can be small steps. The key is to get up, get moving, and keep moving towards your goal. Talk to anybody that's reached any level of success. And I'm sure the people that are on this call or they're on this meeting have reached a level of success. That's why you're a member of BNI. You see the investment and the opportunities. It's usually not a straight and clean line to success. The plan was laid out that way, but there's hurdles, there's detours. We sometimes go off the road. But if we have that goal clearly in focus, we can correct. Even if we run off the road, we can correct. So what do you want to focus on? What do you want to set your mind on towards achieving? I couldn't do a presentation without talking about ways to set goals. And the reason I implore you to set goals, both personally and professionally, is to give you focus, to help you set your mind on what's important to you, not to me, not to your employer, not to your employers. What do you want to happen? Make them specific. You have to have a very clear vision on what you want to happen. Make them measurable so that you can track it. Where are you on this journey, and how are you going to know when you get there? Make them attainable. Now, I know this is the controversy in the SMART goals, but I believe they need to be attainable. You have to have a clear vision on the path to success. Yes, I want you to stretch. Yes, I want them to be big. I even want there to be a little bit of luck involved for you to accomplish your goals. But I want you to be able to see that happening. You have to have a clear vision on, yes, I can make this happen, to really change your mind and have an attitude towards success. And then it has to be relevant to you. Does it fit in with who you are as a person and what's important to you? Think about goals that are placed upon you that don't. How much energy and enthusiasm do you put towards those goals? What is your mindset and attitude towards those goals? You probably don't give them much of a second thought. They have to be relatable to you and important to you. And then make them time bound. Set a time bound. Set a goal. For instance, if I said I want to lose weight, okay, that could be considered a goal. But when am I going to do it? And how much am I going to do it? And how am I going to know when I get there? If I say I want to lose 30 pounds over the next 3 months, now I can start breaking that down. Now I can measure it. I can say, how much does that mean per month? How much does that mean per week? How much does that mean per day? I can break it down to the meal. And I can start to focus and head towards my goal. And every time that I make the decision to put something in my mouth, I can have that goal in mind. Zig Ziglar said he never accidentally put anything into his mouth and ate it. We can focus on our goals, and when it's a reality to us, it will make it happen. So I'm going to ask you, how many of you have goals? And if you have goals, are they written down? Most people don't write down their goals. In fact, studies show that maybe 15% at best do that. And less than 2% actually review their goals once they do that. So I implore you to write them down, view them daily. Get the pleasure of checking off goals that you've accomplished and then setting new goals based on that success. If you don't have goals, start with the big four: relationships, health, finance, and business. You know, what are the roles in your life? What are the relationships in your life that you want to embody and grow? Beyond your family, your friends, your kids, what about with your employer? What about with your clients? You have a lot of roles, a lot of hats that you wear. This is going to take you the most time in the four. Figure out what you want to accomplish there. Don't forget about your health. We can accomplish all the goals we want if we're not around to enjoy it and help others. Does it really matter? And then finance, the big picture on finance. Say you want to take a trip to the middle to Paris. When do you want to do that? I want to do it in 2 years. How much is it going to cost? What does that mean? And then we get to business. Business is going to help us accomplish a lot of our personal goals. What do you want to happen in your business? If you're an employer, do you want to grow it? If you're an employee, do you want to own your own business? Do you want to build your business and grow it year after year? What are your goals in business? They allow us to set our understanding of our priorities, and our priorities are what help us make decisions throughout the day with the focus on the goal. Now, that's a huge shift in mindset. You can't manage your time if you don't have goals, because you're going to struggle from task to task on what's next. What do I need to focus on? But if you have the mindset of knowing what's already important to you, and I can't overemphasize that, these are goals that are important to you, then it shifts that mind. Consider the alternative where there's no goals, no priorities. It's really easy to waste time, to get drug into email, to scroll the internet endlessly, to get pulled into social media for hours on end with no productivity coming out of it. But if we have priorities and we know what we want to accomplish each and every day when we get up, man, that is a different mindset. That is a different attitude. Now, love or hate, Tony Robbins, he got this one right. Emotion is created by motion, and it can affect your attitude and your mindset. The way we move changes the way we think, we feel, and we behave. So recall our discussion around victim, right? Remember the guy slumped over? When you start to think about somebody that is depressed or having a bad day, they kind of fall below that line right away in your mind. Conversely, when you think of someone that's positive, enthusiastic, they have a great positive outlook, what comes to mind? Think about John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever, that walk he had. Now, this is going to date me, but there was a sense of confidence there. There was a sense of positive outlook there. And then finally, and I know I'm talking long here, but did you know that a smile or a laugh can actually set off a biological change, a process in you that makes you feel better? So when you start getting depressed or down, or you're falling below the line, you're having that negative attitude or mindset, try just smiling. You'll be amazed at just making the muscles in your body do that. It starts to change something in us. In fact, let's just do it now. I mean, if you can't look at that picture and smile, you need to reach down, grab your wrist, and take a pulse. Did you notice that it's almost impossible to have someone smile at you, or for you to smile at someone and not get it returned, regardless of their mood or attitude? Simply sharing a smile can change someone's attitude and perspective. That simple act of smile changes your mood. You can literally change your mood by changing the expression on your face, good and bad. It's a truly amazing change that happens in your body. And the way you move will change the way you perceive your life and the way you live your life. Changing your physiology actually allows you to focus and to put things in a much better state of mind. In fact, studies have shown that if you're doing deep thinking, deep work at your desk, that you can only truly keep your brain energized for about 60 to 90 minutes. After that, your productivity greatly starts to fall off. The quality of your work greatly starts to fall off. But if you'll stop at 60 minutes or 90 at the most and take a 10-minute break where you do nothing related to the business or the project you're working on, you get up, and they say the best thing to do is get up and walk around outside. They call it the green effect. Don't really understand why it works, but when you walk outside with the nature, with the wind, it releases things in your brain and clears you to begin again. It recharges your mental capacity. But even something outside, so we're not talking about scrolling through email, but yeah, pick up your smartphone and just scroll social media for 5 minutes. Think about when you wake up in the morning and you're in the shower. Don't those thoughts start to populate your mind? Because you're relaxed and it's clear. The same thing starts to happen when you take these breaks. In fact, there's a popular YouTube video out right now of a professor explaining this to his class. He had several students that had stayed up all night long cramming for a test, and they couldn't understand why their results didn't reflect their effort in cramming for the test. And he explained this very concept to them. that if they'd have taken that 6-7 hours where they continuously studied and taken 10-minute breaks at certain intervals, how their effort would have been much drastically improved. It's the same thing for us when we're there. Now, if you're skeptical about this, you don't believe me about a smile, think about the last time you were on the phone and you could actually feel the person on the other end smiling. You can feel it. You don't see it, but you can feel them smiling. That's why we used to teach and still do put a little mirror on your desk when you're doing outbound calls if you're in sales, because that smile will have a difference. We train customer service people the same way. Start with a smile. People hear it. If someone's smiling, it changes their posture, it changes their energy, it changes their outlook, and then you will begin to thrive. But I told you I had a challenge for you. And I know we've taken a really high level look at a lot of things, but here's the challenge for you. Take responsibility for your mindset and your attitude. Your attitude determines your altitude. How successful you want to be, we saw 85% of it comes from how you perceive the situation that you're in. Stay positive. Refuse to hang on to those negative images and messages, those words, those feelings. Refuse to stay below the line. Keep your goals close and review them for the next 10 days every morning. For the next 10 days, just review your goals. If you don't have goals, set some tonight and then review them every morning. It will help you focus every day on what's important to you. You should never be in doubt about where you're spending your time throughout the day. When you focus on your goals, you're going to create priorities. And those priorities will help you dictate where you're going to spend your time. You will be shocked at the end of the 10 days how much more you accomplished if you do those simple tasks. Where you focus, your energy will follow and flow. I know I sound like a broken record. It is a concept that is so important. It does not matter the size of the steps. There is no silver bullet to success. Continuous steps in the right direction with your focus on your goals will get you there every time. Did you know, and I meant to say this earlier, did you know that an airplane is considered off course about 90% of the time while in flight? Now, I know that's not an easy feeling when you board to go to Chicago or New York, or wherever you're heading, but about 90% of the time they're off course. But through technology and through the skill of the pilots, they make the corrections to land at their target 99.9% of the time. Our goals are no different. We may go off the road. We may hit an obstacle. We may have to take a detour, but as long as we have the goal in focus, we can get there. The tactics may change, the strategy may change, but the goal won't. We're going to find a way to get there. Take these breaks, 5 to 10 minutes. And if you can, take a walk outside. Get up, move your body, put your shoulders back, be positive, and don't think about the business. Think about something else. Give your smile away and give it away often. You know, when you're out taking that walk and you run by somebody, just smile. And if you want to take it to the next step, if you really want to see an impact in your work area and in the people that you interact with, try this. Find someone to appreciate every day. Now, what do I mean by that? Simply by saying, hey, Steve, man, I really appreciate what you do for BNI and putting on these types of opportunities for us to grow. I promise you, inside, when we get out, he's appreciating that. He's going to smile about that. He may even, if you welcome the coworker, say, hey, I just want you to know, I appreciate what you do to help us be better. I appreciate the way you have dinner ready every time when me and the kids get home. I appreciate the way you give attention to our family and to what's important. Anything, little things. But I appreciate what you're doing. It's going to have a dramatic effect on their lives and yours. Why? You're setting your mindset to look for the positive. You're forcing yourself to find the positive. And when we start living above the line on a consistent basis, it will be dramatic. I'd love to hear your questions. I hope you accept this challenge. If you'd like to talk further, either in a one-to-one or with the thinking of givers gain, I'd truly love to find a way that I can help you. If there is, set an appointment with me, shoot me an email, pick up the phone and call me. Any of those are acceptable to me. I'd love to help you any way that I can. As my mentor, Zig Ziglar, said, I think I mentioned it earlier, you can get everything you want in life if you simply help enough other people get what they want first. That's BNI, givers gain. That's why we do what we do. That's why we look for opportunities to connect to people so that they can both thrive, because we believe in that principle. So again, I ask, how can I help you? Any questions, Steve? Anything come up there while I was busy rambling?
A lot of really great comments about what they saw today. No specific questions. Oh, here comes one though. There we go. Can you drop the link to your calendar for those that are on mobile devices?
If you go to my web, or just shoot me an email, I will send it to you, Sean@thrivetowin.com. And that's THRIVE, the number 2, win, WIN.com. Sean, SHAWN, @thrivetowin.com. Shoot me an email. Tell me what I can do to help. I'll send you the link. We'll hook up a time to talk.
Fantastic. For those who asked, yes, we will be uploading this webinar to the BNI Team USA YouTube channel. As always, Sean, people are asking if you will share your slides. Is that something that we can do?
I can do some of that. It's interactive. I'll put something together and get it to you though, Steve. Absolutely. And they'll have the webinar to reflect on, and hopefully that will help, as you can see, going through them. Okay.
And Cheryl's asking, can you please repeat the 4 basic goals?
Absolutely. You want to start with your relationships, right? What are the roles that you play in life? What are the hats that you wear? You're probably a husband, a wife, a mother, a father, a son, a daughter, a friend, an employer, an employee, all of those roles that you play. What do you want out of those relationships? Start there. That will take you the longest. That takes some deep thinking on where do you want to be with those relationships? And more importantly, what's your goal for those relationships? And then move to your health. Don't forget your health. It's very, very important. So build in time for how am I going to eat better? How am I going to exercise? How am I going to do things to ensure I'm best physically? We already talked about how when our body moves, it affects our thinking and the way that we present ourselves. Keep that health in mind. Then you want to look at your family resources, your financing. You know, what is it that you want to accomplish? That doesn't mean we all want to be billionaires or millionaires, but you probably have goals that you want to do, whether it's to buy a home, buy a car, go on a vacation, or just buy a new toy around the house. How are you going to get the financing to do that? What are you going to put in place and that you can do on a daily basis that will help you achieve that goal? If it's just even the atmosphere around the holidays, look at those finances and make sure you're doing that. And then finally, look at your business. Your business being whether you're an employee or an employer. You know, if you're an employer, what do you want to happen with your business? Are you looking to grow it? Are you looking to exit it? Are you looking to hand it off? What are you looking to happen in your business? What are your goals? What is your vision? If you're an employee, the same thing. What's your vision? Why do you show up every day? What is it that you want to do with that time spent? We spend most of our time working. What is it that we want to happen in that regard? And start to lay out those 4 areas. And from there, it will expand. Right. And typically people have a big arching goal or goals, life goals, and then you just start to break that down. So if I want to do that in 20 years, what does that mean I have to do in the next 10? Well, if I want to do that in the next 10, what do I have to do in the next year? What do I have to do in the next quarter? What do I have to do in the next month? What do I have to do next week? What do I have to do today? And then what do I have to do moment by moment to achieve those goals? With that kind of focus, I promise you, you'll see incredible results.
Yeah, that's amazing. And Sean, you can, I'm sure, apply all of this, since we have got a lot of BNI leaders on this call today, to how they run their chapter and what the attitude is for that as well.
Absolutely. I mean, if you think about our meetings, right, keeping that positive mindset and attitude, that givers gain mentality is really key to the success for BNI. If we approach our meetings on what am I going to get out of this, that meeting's not going to go very far. And that person's career in BNI is probably not going to go very far. Right. But if we approach that meeting of, I'm going to listen to Steve fully when he's telling me what's happening in his life and what he's looking for and what's going to happen, I'm starting to think about people I can introduce him to make not only that person, my friend, my colleague, my relationship benefit from Steve, and Steve wins, we all gain. Again, that giver's gain. I can get everything I want out of life if I help enough other people get what they want first. If we present that mindset and attitude at every chapter meeting, or when we visit, or when we're on webinars like this, or if we do the national networking or the local networking, or we're at a networking meeting representing BNI and what we do, it's amazing what can happen.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And we've seen it so many times. We got in the chat, John is saying, gives you kudos, said did a nice job today. He says he's very passionate about the family HVAC business, which is 55 years old. Wow, congrats on that. It sure can be challenging at times to not feel like the victim instead of feeling like the victor. You come into work and expect all your carefully laid plans go to pieces in a hurry. What would your advice be on overcoming these types of challenges?
John, thank you for that question. And it is a very common situation in most small businesses. The things I spend most time talking about with my clients are time management, mindset, and then sales skills. I've got a very strong sales background. I love sales. I see them as life skill. Yes, it is tough, right? We lay out, and you're probably working off a to-do list. I tell you what, if you would reach out to me, I'd love to have a conversation with you about that. And we can nail some things down for you, but it's a time management issue. Look at blocking time for you to do that deep thinking work that I talked about, and treat it as an appointment with your clients. So don't let people interrupt you. If you did that just one time a day, if you took an hour a day to work on what Brian Tracy calls the frog, right? Your biggest task that's going to move your business forward, and you did nothing else but accomplish those 5 things through the week, I would be willing to bet that you'd be way ahead of the way that you're currently processing things now. Focus on what's important to you. Make sure those are done, because if you're coming with the right mindset that what's good for you is good for the business, is good for your employees, is good for your family, your friends, and everybody involved, then accomplishing those goals is going to lift everybody. And while they may give you pushback at first because you're shaking their comfort zone, long term, they're going to get on board and they're going to go, what are you doing differently? And how can I have a piece of it? Guaranteed.
Yeah, it's
Peter, thank you. Thank you for that recommendation, Peter. I really, really do appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, that's right. In terms of, John's question brings up a couple of things. And one of them is like the legacy of a business that's been around for so long. And I've spoken to people who try to keep everything traditional, the way the business was set up, because they don't want to mess anything up. But as business evolves, things need to change. And I think people get kind of caught up in, which direction do you go in?
You're absolutely correct. And I think, and not because it's what I do for a living, but I think having an advisor, a trusted advisor, a coach, a colleague, somebody that you can trust on outside of your business is huge. Yeah. You don't have to hook up with me and hire me, but find a business coach that you respect, that understands your vision or helps you understand your vision to move things forward, because they can bring a whole different perspective. They don't have skin in the game per se of what the business is happening. They just have your best interest at heart, and they want the business to grow. I told you why I do what I do. I want businesses to grow and be successful, because I think that changes the community. That has an incredible impact on a lot of people. And that's the best I can do at this stage in my career. That is my goal. But for you, looking forward on where do I want this business to go? Spelling out a clear vision of where you are today, and understanding that vision, which is probably different than what you think it is, and then understanding the vision of where you want to be. That's business 101, that's sales 101, that's life 101. I mean, it's what we do with our kids and our family and our friends, right? We understand where they are, what they want to do, and we help them get there. In BNI, we understand where we are, where our members are, and what they want to accomplish, and we try and help other people help them get there. That is what we do. We build that bridge. So start with trying to get a really clear vision on where you are, understanding where you want to go and what is it going to take to get there. And it's probably, if you're like most of my clients, much different than what you expect. And when you can spell out that vision, when you can clearly communicate that vision throughout your organization, that's where the magic starts to happen, because now they understand what you're trying to accomplish, and you'll see the interruptions disappear because they're able to make decisions. They understand what the goal is. They know what that client needs. They understand what the best answer is in 90% of the situations, and they're able to serve better. And you're able to serve better as a leader because your vision is clear, not only to you, but to everyone from the boardroom down to the break room.
Okay. Bonnie is asking, do you go to businesses to do trainings?
I do. Yes. As a matter of fact, I was in Pittsburgh last week for a 2-day workshop. Absolutely. I'd love for you to reach out. We can visit and see if we're fit. I'm not a fit for everyone, and I'll be perfectly frank about that. But I can promise you this, whether you want to talk to me about your business or you're thinking about someone in your sphere of influence, I will never engage if I honestly don't believe I can have a powerful impact. For me, that is the high that I get. I want to have a positive impact. And frankly, I don't have a lot of room on my calendar to add clients, but I do have room. And so I'm selective in making sure that those engagements are positive. I'd love to visit and see if we're fit.
That's great. All right. I think that's a good place for us to end today. Thank you all for attending today. Sean, really inspirational. I think people are going to start, taking some of these concepts and applying it to their business or to their chapter or however they want to do it. Really impressive.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for your comments and your input. I really appreciate. This is why I do what I do. I love sharing and helping people grow. And again, if I can help you, please reach out.